I think what we have to do is continue to look for ways to make Steam more valuable to people, right? To solve problems for people. There are huge numbers of support problems that we can just make go away by proactively solving them, but we still aren't, getting display drivers out to people automatically, which makes me crazy. It's like one of the biggest problems our customers have is the fact that they don't have an automatic update facility for display drivers. And it's been obvious, for a couple of years that needs to happen. And, yet we still don't have that.
Well, is Microsoft trying to address that with Longhorn? I mean, have they talked to you about this? I figure they'd probably be talking to game developers.
I'd be more likely to be excited about NVIDIA or ATI saying that they were going to have solutions than expecting that Longhorn's going to wave a fairy wand over anything. I mean, they keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and I think expectations for sales of Longhorn are getting less and less. So, but that's an example of something that would clearly be valuable to customers, would solve problems for our customers. It would globally reduce everybody's support burden, and yet we haven't done it yet. Like, I had a conversation with some people at Microsoft recently, and I said, I cannot point to a single feature in Longhorn that I care about, right? There's nothing in Longhorn at all that solves any problems for us at all, And I had the same conversation with the Xbox 360 guys. It's like it's like the Xbox 360 doesn't make my life any better, and in fact, it makes it a lot worse. And you're telling me I can't rely on having a hard drive. And when I look at what I need to compete with, right? The most interesting game property right now is World of Warcraft. Huge retail sales and huge recurring revenue, and not only that, but they have a great experience wrapped around it. Whether it's their forums or community art or whatever, they're not only getting their customers to play the game, they're getting their customers to make the experience more valuable for other people who play the game. So I'll go up and download music and watch the movies that people have created and see fan art and do all these other things. So when I look at sort of what a platform needs to help a software developer do right now, it's figure out how to beat World of Warcraft. And when I look at the strategies that are being put forward by Microsoft on the system side or on the Xbox side or Sony or Nintendo, they're not making my life easier. Like, the PlayStation 3 makes my life as a software developer much harder. All of a sudden I'm supposed to figure out how to have this asymmetrical, multi-threaded game, right? And I've never written a single line of multi-threaded code ever, right? It's not like I was lying awake saying, I need to re-architect every line of code I've ever written in order to get it to work. So one of my junior programmers who's writing game code rather than system code could slow things down in a real world case, by a factor of 80, because they're doing something out in the AI or in the game DLL, which used to be totally safe. And now all of a sudden the whole system just slows down. And then one of the really experienced programmers have to go in and say, oh, you can't tell that you're doing this, you ran out of registry space and this other thing happened, and no, there's no debugger that shows this to you. And writing for SPEs and writing in a PlayStation 3 environment, it's like there are incredibly few programmers who can safely write code in that environment. You make tiny little changes to code running on one of the SPEs and the entire thing will grind to a halt. And you have no visibility into why that's happening. It's just sort of magically running really, really slow. And it's also incredibly hard to architect things at the beginning so that you can distribute all of your functionality on all of these different processing units. This was not a problem that we were lying awake late at night saying, oh, we would really like to take this on right now. We were worried about little things like billing and forums and wikis and things like that, right? I totally see why Sony wants people to write code that runs on 7 SPEs and a central processing unit, because that code's never going to run well anywhere else, right? They're saying, make your code not run on anything other than one of ours, and we're betting that we'll have market share that's so high that everybody will have to write code for our platform, and other people will just, will just starve the air from the other platforms by absorbing everybody's R&D budget and making their code less portable. Steam essentially was like, here are a set of tools that software developers need, focused on solving the problems that we have with these next generation of games. Billing, updates, product support, connecting our customers together, and things like that. I would think that for a lot of developers, things like Steam are going to be more interesting and solve more problems to them than this next generation of hardware and operating systems platforms. So, the Saturn came out, and that was intended to take this previous generation of games and create this super complicated chunk of hardware that would help you make the ultimate sprite-oriented game. And Sony came along and said, no, it's not a sprite problem anymore, it's a 3D graphics problem. And I think that a lot of developers are going to say, that's not the problem, that's another Sega Saturn. What we really need are problems with making our, how do we connect to our customers, get data from our customers, get updates to our customers, have closer relationships? How do we compete with the customer experience that you get out of being a WoW customer more than how do we, blast another set of pixels at what is essentially a 640 by 480 screen?